If you'd welcome to the front of the room, Kevin Clayson. High five.
Oh, hey, I probably need a microphone. Right? Here, I'll do the handheld. Well, thank you so much, and it is absolutely awesome to be here with you tonight. And, I appreciate what Steve just said and his very kind words and compliments. I just want to stand as an example to you that you don't have to speak well to be a professional speaker or write well to be a published author. So there you go. Anybody can do it, I promise. But I'm really excited to be here. This company has been a remarkable part of my journey as a human. When we started this company, I don't think any of us knew what to expect. We certainly didn't expect the unbelievable roller coaster that's taken place over the last decade. And I'll tell you one of the things that I should have expected, but I didn't expect. And it's the reason why I believe that what we do is so vital and so important and so powerful. I'll demonstrate it by sharing a story with you. Now, Steve, I don't even know if you know this story. I maybe have shared this with you. So a few months back, I had a friend give me a call, and he said, hey, I'm moving. I'm going to a home. I'm moving from, I think he was moving from somewhere in Salt Lake to Spanish Fork. And he said, will you help me unload the furniture when we get to Spanish Fork? I said, sure, no problem. I got a couple hours that day. I'll drive over. So I drive over, and we start to unload some furniture. And we're taking it up the stairs, and there's these kind of awkward angles. And halfway through unloading this furniture, all of a sudden, this older gentleman appears. He was like Bilbo Baggins, came out of nowhere, just this older guy, and he starts carrying furniture up the stairs. And I'm like, who is this guy? So I assumed that he'd been invited by my friend, Chris. And Chris assumed that he'd been invited by me, and then there were a couple other people there. So we just figured, he must be from, I don't know, the neighborhood, or he's somebody's friend, and you always get lots of people over moving. So none of us are talking to him because we're all just assuming he knows somebody, and we're all just, putting couches on our back and going up the stairs. And so I'm like, I need to get to know this guy. I don't like to be in a room with somebody and not know anything about him. So I start talking to him, and I go, hey, so are you friends with Chris? And he's like, no, I just live down the street. I was like, oh, so you just live down the street? Yeah, I saw you guys moving, and I was driving down the road. And so it looked like you were moving furniture. I thought, hey, I'll come over and help. I'm like, well, awesome. Well, you're a great example of how to be a human being. So I start to talk to him, and I go, so how long have you lived in the neighborhood? Oh, I've been here a few years. Awesome, cool. So are you retired? Yeah, we're retired. I had such and such a career, and did a few things and did some real estate, and that allowed us to retire and buy this home down the road. I was like, oh, cool. Real estate. Cool. Yeah, I've done a little bit of real estate too. Oh, yeah. We bought a few homes with this company, Strongbrook, and it really worked out well for us. And I said, say what now? He was a client of ours who I didn't know, and he didn't know that I was one of the founders of the company. And I said, so tell me more. So you bought some homes. He bought some homes right at the right time in some of our markets, like Las Vegas, like Arizona. And he got in right at the right time and got these unbelievable prices on the home. And he'd seen this rise take place. And then he was to the point where he didn't need to continue to grow his portfolio. He had some retirement from his career. He had Social Security. And he was able to sell those homes and walk away with a big fat nest egg that allowed him to retire. So that day, when he was driving down the road, he had time to pull over and render service to a stranger. I had no idea who he was or what his story was. I just figured he was this nice guy. When that happened, for me, I wished that I could have rewound 10 years. When we were sitting in a room trying to figure out what the heck this thing would be, I wish that I would have understood then what I understand now, much like what Steve has taught Dallin. When I stand here and I listen to Dallin, I'm shocked. I remember when he started to work for the company, and I remember when his home funded his mission. And I remember Steve and I having these conversations about that. And when I think of stories like that individual who I was moving furniture with, stories like Dallin, it absolutely blows me away. See, what we're talking about here tonight may seem like real estate. What we're talking about here tonight may seem like financial planning, and it may seem like retirement. But I'll tell you what it really is. At its core, it's the ability for you to simply do a little bit more of what you want. I have a mentor in my life who taught me something that I want to teach you. He said, everything you do in life falls into one of two categories. It either contributes to your freedom or it contaminates your freedom. But that's it. Think about that. If you realize that every moment of every day is spent either contributing to or contaminating, you have to ask your question. If I work hard and save hard to buy a toy, does that contribute or contaminate? If I work hard and I save hard to buy a piece of real estate that could grow into more real estate, does that contribute or contaminate? See, I wish that I would have known that what our job was from the very inception of the company was to contribute to people's freedom in such a powerful way that they could retire and drive down the street and help a stranger lift some furniture. So what I wanted to do at the conclusion is I wanted to just kind of recap what we've talked about here tonight, who we are as Done For You Real Estate, and what this whole game is about. And so I want to just mention a couple things. And these are the ones that I want to touch on. I want to touch on what are our results? Who are our people and why do they matter? And what is this program called Done For You Real Estate? If we start with results, this is really what it boils down to. We have somebody that comes in the door. We help them do real estate in order to generate a little bit of cash flow, a little bit of freedom. This is the most basic I can make this program. People like you walk through a door like that and say, I'd like some help. And then we have a whole group of people that sit down with you and say, let's go to work. Simply so that you can go and acquire a piece of real estate that has the ability to contribute to your freedom. Now that's the oversimplified version, but we've done that a couple times. In fact, to give you an idea, as Steve mentioned, we have helped individuals do over 3,000 homes. Just out of curiosity, how many of you have ever even gone through the process of buying your own primary residence? Anybody done that? Anybody here bought an investment property? Through the process of buying your primary residence or an investment property, quick question, did you learn a little bit of stuff that you didn't know before you entered that process when you did it the first time? So imagine an entire team doing that exact thing over 3,000 times. We have also managed to help our clients acquire over $400 million in acquisition price of real estate. $400 million. I just want you, I wish that this room echoed more because it would go 400 million. That is a big number. We're not playing around here. This isn't a, well, hey, thanks for coming to the seminar. We've done 3 homes for one person and it worked out great, so you should come too. This is a 3,000 homes for thousands of clients totaling 400 million. It's a lot of real estate. And this one I just love. Do you realize that with basic math, I came to find out that our clients have collected over $20 million in rent. Now, obviously, some of that went back to mortgages, but there's a lot of cash flow. What has that meant for families? What has that meant for the economy? We sure know the government's not doing anything except infusing fake money. We're creating real results with real people using real estate. So those are our results. You got to ask yourself the question. If I'm going to go and do real estate, and if I'm going to go and do something with my real estate portfolio, my retirement, and my future, do I want to work with somebody who just hung out a shingle and said, hey, I'm in business? Or do you want to work with an established company that's been around for a decade, that's done over 400 million in real estate transactions with thousands of individuals? So why do I share that? Because if you're here tonight, if you're watching on the live stream, if you're watching this video at any point in history, I want you to know that we know what we do makes a difference, and we know that it makes a difference for you. Why? Because we have some remarkable people. And I want to talk a little bit about the program and walk you through, because see, if we know that somebody comes through the door and does some real estate and gets some cash flow, there's a lot of steps that go into that. We're not going to go into all of them. I'm going to simplify the process, so hopefully you walk away tonight going, I get how they've been able to do it. Because what we've created is a system. You know what I love about systems? Systems, you know, it's also an acronym, right? What's the acronym for system? Anybody know? Saves you some time, effort, and money. We have a system. Systems increase predictability. Predictability minimizes and mitigates risk. Minimized and mitigated risk creates more opportunity for you to contribute to your freedom. Does that make sense? So how does that process work? How does that system work? Well, we've got a lot of people and a lot of moving parts, and I want to touch on that with you. So let me just walk you through, just briefly, how this works. Would that be okay if I just walk you through it? You guys, some of you know how this thing works, but how many of you have really tried to sit down and like pencil it out, like, okay, I think I go here, and then I talk to that guy, but I talk to her. Anybody ever tried to do that? It's quite an extensive process, so let me walk you through it briefly. First of all, it's going to start with a conversation. That conversation is going to happen because someone like you had a great experience with us, and you became the hero for somebody else by sharing with them who we are and what we do, so they can contribute to their freedom, not contaminate their freedom, so they can contribute to their freedom like you've contributed to yours. You introduce them to us, and we jump on the phone, and we say, hey. That's a whole first conversation, just that one word. So much, you can learn so much from that one word. We say, hey, and we talk, and we find out what it is they need, how we can help contribute to their freedom, and how we do that in a way that works specifically for them. Once we have that conversation, they're going to have a second conversation with somebody like Nathan, with somebody like Kurt, with somebody like Rodney, where we can dive into some specifics and really drill down on the kind of dollars they have, the kind of dollars they want to create, what sort of credit score they have, how many properties they're looking to purchase, what markets they're looking to purchase. And then we're going to send them to somebody like Dustin, who's going to go through that loan pre-qualification. Now, I just want to pause here for a moment because I hope you understand how rad this is. And yes, I use the word rad, and no, it's not 1989. We can still use it today. It is rad because what Dustin has the ability to do is sit down with somebody and really, in a snapshot, be able to tell you, based on what's in front of them, how much real estate you can do, how many properties you're going to be able to do, what markets you ought to go to, what type of cash flow that may create, what sort of things you need to do in your credit to get you in a position to be able to go and do real estate. And once he could do that at a snapshot, he now gathers all of that information. And all of that information comes from you, giving him the mega file, the W-2s, the tax returns, all of that stuff, which I know can seem maddening, and it may feel like this is totally contaminating my freedom, but I promise it's contributing, okay? You get him all of that stuff, and he's able to look at it, and I kind of feel like Dustin is like Russell Crowe in A Beautiful Mind. Anybody watch A Beautiful Mind? Remember when Russell Crowe, he's like looking at numbers and they're like lighting up and he's like doing this kind of thing and then all of a sudden he gets it? I feel like that's Dustin. And he's remarkable. And he does that and creates this pre-qualification and then goes back to the coach because like Shelly said, everybody's here. He goes to the coach and he says, here's what it's looking like. Here's what we could do. And now there's another conversation where the coach can talk to you or the person you referred and go through the markets and go through the strategies and review. Where do we want to go? Do we want to go to Charlotte? Because that looked pretty awesome. Is that going to be a good fit for you? You know what? Maybe you need a little bit more cash flow like what we do in Memphis. Oh, you'd like a long-term game plan so that we could create some growth? Let's take a look at Orlando. Here's a great example. One of my best friends called me up and he said, Kev, you've done real estate. You have this real estate thing. I need to do some real estate. What should I do? And I said, Keith, let me tell you what to do. I'm going to get you on the phone with Kurt. He got on the phone with Kurt. Kurt talked to him, and then he got on the phone with Nathan. And once he got on the phone with Nathan, they sent him over to Dustin, and he did a pre-qualification. And then Dustin, after doing that pre-qual, went back to Nathan. And Nathan talked to Keith and determined that they were going to go buy in Orlando, which brings us to the next part of this process. The Orlando team springs into action. and they spring into action to go find and locate that home for Keith so that he can go put it under contract. Then once that's done, it comes back to Dustin, and Dustin starts to work with our finance team, in-house and out-house, in-house and outside of the house, to make sure that we could get the financing done for Keith so that he can buy the property in Orlando with leverage. So once that happens, he talks to Nathan again after the team springs into action and Dustin gets going on the loan, and then Nathan and Keith stay in touch through the whole process, because there's going to be conditions on the loan. There's going to be things that Keith has to provide. There's going to be documentation, and there's this whole communication process that is beautiful and amazing and brilliant, so that Keith always knows what's going on and we always know what's going on, so that when we go through that process, lo and behold, you get to the point where he can close on the home. And once you close on the home, now it's a simple process of getting the keys and you own the home. And while all of that's going on, this acquisition team's been working in the background. They've been finding the home. They've been fixing and rehabbing the home. They've been working with the property managers to find the tenants, so that you may start here having no idea how to contribute to your freedom with something as simple as done for you real estate. And while you're here and all of this is going on, so that you can collect rent, so that you can contribute to your freedom, so that you can create additional time, so that you can create additional opportunity for you. While all of that's happening, you may start to create some cash, and then we have somebody like Nick that can talk to you about tax strategies and tax planning. We have people that can help you facilitate or introduce you to folks that can facilitate the 1031 exchange, that we can do financial planning with, that we can look at insurance, that we can look at asset management. We could get the homeowner insurance. Maybe it's life insurance. We have all of these things, and here's the coolest part. All of this is done for what? But notice, done for you. It's a really important word in that phrase. You know what the most important word is? It's you. This process, this company, your ability to create freedom with real estate is impossible without you. We do what we can, but without you, we can't. That means that while we hold your hand through that whole process, you need to have the conversations. You need to stay in touch with your project manager, and we'll reach out to you too. But you need to get all that information into the loan pre-qual so that we can find the right home for you. You need to communicate with us, and we can communicate with the acquisition team so they can go to work and do everything for you. You need to work with the loan team, work with your property manager. You need to work with Nick. You need to let us know what type of tenant you want so that we can get them in the home. You are essential to this whole process. What we do is all the hard stuff. So you're not the one that has to manage all the details. Is that cool or what? So when you look at who we are a collection of individuals, people with real names and real lives and real concern for you. Tell you what, this company would not be in existence, and we would not have been able to create the results that we've created if we didn't care about you. I could tell you from very personal experience that Steve Earle cares for our clients. Shelley cares for our clients. Richard cares. Nathan cares. Nick cares. Dustin cares. Brandon, Bryson, they care. I know, because I get to hear, I'm privy to the cool conversations. The ones behind closed doors where they're talking about you by name and by situation and making sure that what you need is happening so that you can contribute to your freedom. So, I want to conclude with this, because we're talking about real estate. So why the heck should anybody even invest in it? Can I give you a couple bullet points of why I believe real estate is key to your ability to have the freedom you seek? Number one, it is one of a handful of investments that creates multiple streams of income inside of a single investment. Think about it. You own a home. What are some of the streams of income that you can create just from a single home? What are they? Rent, so you can get cash flow. What else? Appreciation. What else? You can get cash flow. You can get appreciation. It's almost like you're at my slides. What about tax savings? Remember what Nick shared? This super awesome, amazing, rad, if you will, 1031 process. Okay? Multiple streams of income from one thing. I used to do this presentation where I would talk about the power of a dollar and how rare it is that a dollar ever buys more than 100 pennies. In fact, what time is it? I'm going to do it right now, just because it's one of my favorite presentations. So I've got $1, okay? This is how I want you to understand what your real estate can do for you. This dollar has a serial number, and this dollar represents what? How many pennies? 100 pennies. Is it fair to say that I can exchange this dollar for 100 pennies worth of goods or services? Yes? Awesome. So let's do a demonstration. Now, real quick, you want to inspect that dollar for me? It is one single dollar. You can go ahead and touch it. It's okay. It doesn't bite. Yeah, it is $1, okay? And it does have a serial number. So this $1 with this one serial number is only worth 100 pennies, yes? So how can I make this dollar buy 300 or 400 pennies worth of goods? Well, let me give you an example. Let's say that I have this dollar and I'm heading home from work and I'm kind of hungry. And so I take this dollar and you happen to own a McDonald's. And so I trade this dollar for a double cheeseburger, okay? Now you have that dollar and on your way home from work, you're going, wow, my uniform smells like grease. I need to go to the dry cleaner. So you drop your dry cleaning off at the dry cleaner. He ends up giving it, and you give him the dollar, and what do you get in return? You get clean clothes, I got a cheeseburger, and you as the dry cleaner going, you know what? My car is kind of dirty, and so he happens to own a car wash, which is pretty cool. And so you give him the dollar. Now you got a car wash or part of a car wash. You got a dry cleaned uniform. I got a cheeseburger, and you owning the car wash, you're going, you know what? I'm kind of bored. You know what I need? I need a really awesome book to listen to. It so happens I'm an author. And so maybe you buy my book, and now this same single dollar bought me a cheeseburger, you a uniform, you a car wash, and you a book or part of one. I thought it was only worth 100 pennies. But what did it just buy? 400 pennies worth of goods. Why? How did that happen? What did it do? It went somewhere and it traveled and it created. It worked for you. If I owned this dollar and I owned every piece of that transaction, I would have owned 400 pennies worth of goods. So here's how it works. I buy a home. Let's say you're the home, okay? He's the home, and it starts to pay me cash flow. And I have this really cool cash flow because I invested in this home. But not only is it giving me cash flow, but the same dollar I invested in that home happens to be growing in appreciation. And that same dollar that I invested in that home is producing cash flow, is producing appreciation, and it just so happens it's creating some tax savings. So now this same dollar, because I invested it in something like real estate, has generated multiple streams of income with one single dollar. It was one batch of capital that I put into one home. See how cool that is? Where else can you do that? Newsflash, it ain't the bank, y'all. That don't work. It's not mutual funds. That doesn't work, but it does work with real estate. So why real estate? Because it creates multiple streams of income. Why? Is it a hedge against inflation? How many of you are familiar with what inflation is? Is that something that we have to consider? The government has been printing money like no other. Historical data shows that when the government prints, guess what happens over time to inflation? The government prints and everything seems fine for a while, but inflation has to go up. It's supply and demand. A lot of times we don't realize all the inflation that's happening. The government's printing money. Have you ever considered that you yourself have been part of inflation because you print money? How many of you know you print money? How many of you have a credit card? Anybody here have a credit card with a credit line that is more, you don't have to disclose, that is more than you have in actual assets sitting in the bank in terms of dollars? So when you go and swipe that credit card and buy something you can't afford, what did you just effectively do? You print money. So when all of this is happening at unbelievable rates, and when banks are taking your dollars and leveraging them 10 times, so they're taking your dollar and actually going and buying 10 times what that dollar is worth, all of a sudden, there's money coming everywhere, and it's all going to feed into inflation. But what's real estate? Real estate's a hedge because it's tangible. So when there's more money in the economy, everything costs more, yes? Like rents, like construction, so on and so forth. So if you own that physical asset and all the prices are going up, guess what your rents are doing too? It's a hedge against inflation. And it is, my friends, come back. It is tangible. Shelley talked about that. It's real. I always say, I love the doomsdayers. Well, why should I invest in real estate? Because if the whole economy collapses, I don't really know what to do. If the economy collapses, it doesn't really matter. We're going to have real estate, blah, right? You hear this, but let me tell you, you want to know what my response is? Cool, it's tangible, so you can sell the wood, or you can go and plant corn on the land. Because where else can that dollar produce multiple times in multiple ways, act as a hedge against inflation, which will rob us all of wealth, and be something tangible that you can use from now till forever? And all of it happens because we've got a team, we've got a process, and you have the ability to contribute to your freedom. Here's what my hope is for you. My hope is that you take the next step, whatever it is. And my hope is that you take the next step like tonight or tomorrow. If you haven't talked to your project manager in a while, call them tomorrow. Shoot them a text or an email tonight. If you've been thinking about real estate and you have no idea if it's even going to work for you, pick up the phone, visit the website, give us a call. You can go to the website and you can request a chat. Do that. Let's have a call. If you're doing real estate and things are going well, then I believe you have an obligation to share something special with someone you care about. So shoot a text, shoot a Facebook message, do something, and let somebody you care about know that they don't have to keep contaminating their freedom. They can contribute to it with something as beautiful and simple as predictable real estate done in powerful markets where the majority of the work is done for you because we have a team that cares about you and can do it so you don't have to. That's my hope for you. I just want to conclude by expressing my gratitude that you're here. Thank you. Everybody still watching, thank you. Anybody watching this in the future, if we put this in a time capsule, hey, thanks. But I really am thankful that you're here because it means, and I want you to pay real close attention, there's a handful of us in this room, there's a handful of us on the live stream. How many more are out there doing the same things, the same way, just like they've been doing for the last 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 70 years, contaminating their freedom day in and day out? But not you. So pick up the phone and call your project manager. Pick up the phone and contact us. Pick up the phone and talk to someone you love so that they can get in this room with us. So with that, you guys, thank you so much for letting me be here. And Steve, back to you.
Nice job. Okay, thank you, Kevin. With that, that concludes our 3-hour intensive. This was an experiment to see if we could do it. I think we did all right. This will continue to evolve and grow and get better in terms of the content that we provide and so on. We're super excited about Done For You Real Estate and for the opportunity that we have to build and grow the company, to be able to provide the services to each of you. So thanks for being here tonight. Follow Kevin's instructions. I couldn't say it any better, so I won't even try and repeat it. So signing off from our Real Estate Intensive, I'm Steve Riddle.